What?
Also, I wanted to figure out what happens if you push these buttons.
Which
No,
buttons?
we're not testing the buttons.
Oh, I didn't know that would happen. Okay. I wonder if you can program what these buttons do. I
You
bet.
knew 100%.
No, I did
what
not.
that
I
button-
suspected. Oh my god, this podcast just got 10 times better.
Bam!
Is that, that's an applause. Wow.
Oh my god.
This is what you did today. You programmed these buttons.
Oh! All right, this thing stays by me.
I don't.
You need a slide whistle.
I quit.
We're singing Hampshire Valley in my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. As I am joined every week, I'm joined by John Renane,
Heyo.
Michael Moeller. You can't just use the sound effects.
Okay, I won't do it. I'll do it for the guest though.
Michael Moeller? No sound effects. And our special guest this week, Buddy. Thanks. John's found a new toy.
There needs to be a fade option on that.
Yeah, there doesn't. It's a little awkward.
Buddy from Monnik Brewing Company. So head brewer over there. Happy to have you on.
Yeah, man. Thank you for
us.
coming.
Excited to be here.
Great. All right. It's really the clapping that threw me off.
I know,
We
I
just
know.
figured out what a soundboard was. We got to program this now. So expect more funky, weird grooves.
Was that an
coming.
intentional joke? Was that an awkward pause? Like,
No.
okay, nobody else touches the buttons for the rest of the
Yeah,
podcast.
I think the buttons are cut off.
Yeah.
And if you would like to see how awkward all of those buttons are, I would suggest subscribing to our Patreon, where you can see this video of these beautiful four men pressing buttons.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to our subscribers for these wonderful chairs.
Yeah. Second week.
My behind.
Buddy's the first guest to break in the chairs with us.
Yeah.
You can wiggle as much as you want. Nary a squeak.
That
Not a
sound is
squeak.
the chair.
Yeah, it's the chair. It's the
Not
chair.
even a little. And because I'm running the episode, I think that we should start off with a beer,
Okay.
like we always do. So what I have is something that, this show is about family, like Fast and the Furious.
It's like basically a family show.
Yeah. So family beer show. But I did get this
You weren't kidding. You're fogging up.
Yeah, it's getting foggy. I get steamy, dude.
That was quick.
hot in here. That was last week's episode. But this week we do have a beer from Manitoulin Island, which is
Where's that?
Way up north.
It's Michigan.
It's Michigan, right? It's the largest freshwater island in the world.
Oh, cool. I thought that was Lake Superior.
Island.
Is it in Lake Superior? Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Thank you. So this is brought to us by Split Rail Brewing Company. So they do have a brewery on the largest freshwater island in the country.
Heck yeah.
And because Monnik is so inspired by British beers, English style beers, I thought this was good for us. So this is actually labeled as a Gore Bay IPA. Gore Bay, not gourmet, not anything else. But this is an inspired British style IPA with floral notes, bitterness, toffee, citrus. So
All right. Do we know what Gore Bay means?
It's a place.
Got
Gore
it.
Bay. That's why I pronounced it.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it might have been like some kind of obscure way for like dry hopping with pine needles or something. But no, it's just a place, which is also good. The way you pour beer is so savage, dude.
Why? It's the aggressive pour.
It's
That's good.
dark.
Hard pour. Yes.
Yeah, it is a little
Very
malty
dark.
for that.
Some malty IPA. I can smell it. though.
Ooh, I smell that Gore Bay.
So
Very nice and heavy malt profile, almost like barley wine, like kind of
I mean,
aroma.
It's strong.
Yeah.
All I smell is like raw, like malt.
Merisata.
Melanoidin
Mhm.
going on.
Or how do you pronounce that, John?
Machukutonko. Yeah, there were some pronunciation issues last week, but we've worked through those since then. Yeah, this is good. I like it a lot, man. It is very old school. It's very like British style. 5% ABV, so it's nice and sessionable. They've got the German pronunciation on here, so you know it's continental. They've got it measured in milliliters. And they got a bunch of pictures of knots on it, which works with like the bay theme and the freshwater island theme.
Not Lake Superior.
Okay, yeah, right.
How could it possibly be Lake Superior?
No, I dig this, man. This is fantastic.
Can
So,
Can I interject with my first
Please.
anecdotal thing?
please.
referencing the milliliters and the internationality of their branding. At some point, I got a text about our tanks across the river because some of them were Celsius, some of them were set to Fahrenheit, and Brian texted me, "Hey, why are some of these tanks set to Celsius? Why are some Fahrenheit?"
And Brian's the owner of Monnik.
Brian is one of the owners, and then Brian Labor, who is our brewer and our quality assurance, quality control person over there, does all of our lab stuff. He is one of the greatest people on the planet, but he's also a very unique individual.
Yeah.
And so when Brian texted me that, Brian Holton, one of the owners, he's like, why are they different? And I thought about it and I internalized it. I was like, he probably sets anything that is non-American to Celsius.
It ferments wrong.
And anything that is American to Fahrenheit.
I love that.
And then upon my next visit to the brewery, I looked and indeed that was the case.
That's hilarious.
So the German Pilsner is Celsius. The American Pilsner is Fahrenheit.
Exactly.
Got it.
I
You
like
don't-
that.
You
That's
don't
a
want
good
the beer to
system.
get confused.
Does the freedom make the beer taste better with the imperial scale?
Hard to say. Soft opening into Buddy, head brewer at Monnik Beer Company, located in Germantown, Louisville.
Schnitzelberg.
Okay, fine. Schnitzelberg, Louisville, and also New Albany, Indiana. So happy to have you on.
That's right. We have 2 locations.
Yeah, totally.
right.
Go across the river and check out the other one.
Are you the first dual state brewery in Louisville? I can't think of anybody else that has a tap room outside of the state.
Not currently.
Yeah, I mean, except for the people who have come here with tap rooms,
I
like
mean,
Hotwire and stuff, but
not-
that doesn't really
not
count.
currently.
Yeah,
Not currently.
that's awesome. Cool.
Not right now.
Yeah, I'm counting it.
Thank you.
It's a
This has
compliment.
a terrific lacing. by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it really does. Honestly,
Sexy.
Elongated proteins on fleek, as the kids say.
hell yeah.
So Monnik is been around since 2015, I believe.
We just celebrated 6 years.
That's awesome.
Okay, so
Wow.
2016.
Actually, I remember Monnik opened right around the same time that the homebrew store did. So I was had a Schnitzelberg kinship with the team over there.
So
Yeah.
brewery and restaurant, elevated pub fare, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Really just all around great food.
Yeah.
Great beer, great food. It's always been really fun to go to. It's usually a good lunch spot for me. I always see you posted up at the bar and, around lunchtime-ish.
Yeah. Gotta hydrate.
That's what Monnik kind of is to me, is the place where you can go. We have a lot of meetings there with the neighborhood associations and business associations, or you just go there for lunch on a random Tuesday. And usually you're there, or one of the brewer team is kind of hanging out in the tap room. The bar staff's all great, and you see people from all the other breweries just kind of hanging out.
I mean, it's also the so far the only place that we've done a quote unquote live podcast from.
Yeah.
That's right. We have podcasted from
Wait, is
upstairs
this not
in Monnik.
live?
Well,
I mean,
recorded live.
Recorded live.
In front of a live audience.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay,
Please,
sorry.
God.
Sorry.
No. Part of the reason I want to start off with this beer is a nod to the English styles that Monnik does. Being in the Schnitzelberg neighborhood, obviously German influence, but you guys, your beer spans across multiple variations of region, country, etc. And I think unique to Louisville, that's one thing that you guys do exceptionally well.
Conceptually, I think I've been with the company for 2 years this week, essentially.
Happy
That's
anniversary.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
But the approach to building out the brand, building out our core brands as well as our seasonals has always been traditionality. I think that the blend of what Brian brought to the brand and what Scott brought to the brand with their particular taste and interests.
Yeah.
Those guys were great sounding boards for each other to be able to come up with, okay, we want to do a traditional English bitter. How do we want to approach that? What do we want to use for the malt? What do we want to use for the hops?
Yeah, the
And
King
then-
George is still one of my favorite beers. It's great.
It's so that beer is taken off.
In the mild.
We've been selling through the English stuff really quickly lately. Excuse me. This is a fizzy beer.
The lacing catches up with you and way back up.
But no, those beers, started off as beers that, the brand cared about representing the style, and then turned into everyone knows King George, everyone knows Churchill. And we've seen a good uptick in those brands specifically, because I think we've established a clientele that knows that they can come and get a proper English bitter.
And not everybody, and that's probably like an overstatement, not everybody makes those styles of beer anymore. You don't see them.
Monnik
often.
is a craft European pub for American. I mean, you guys nail, like you said, like English bitter, English mild. I know one beer that's near and dear to you is, the Hefeweizen.
Sure.
Yeah. The Hefe was the beer that I made the most as a home brewer. It was one that I wanted to nail because my grandmother, who grew up in Germany and drank beer as a child in Germany because they're way cooler over there. When I started homebrewing, I would take her beers and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this?" And she would always be like,
That's awesome.
But
Classic German grandma.
I didn't realize that she didn't really like beer. The only beer that
Oh.
the only beer that
wasn't
she
your
really
beer,
liked.
she
No,
just
it was
didn't.
just beer in general. The only beer that she actually liked is a Hefeweizen. And so when I started crafting a Hefe recipe, and I took it to her, she was like, this is good beer. And she sat there and she held it with both hands and took a big sip and had the mustache and everything. And I was like, okay, this feels right. And so when it came time to kind of, input my own character into the brand, Scott had asked for an idea on a beer. It's like, I want to do a Hefe. He's like, Hefes are hard with our system because we don't really have a way to do step mashing. And I was like, if you give me the shot to figure it out, do I have free reign to do that? And he was like, sure.
Yeah. Classic Scott.
And so I figured out a way to rig up our very simple system. If you have a 3 vessel homebrew system, that's basically what we operate on, but just on a much larger scale. So that I was able to do a protein rest, and through a very large infusion and tons of stirring for a sack rest, was able to achieve my sack rest temp with a Hefe. And when we released the beer and we were coming up with names, that's sometimes the hardest part, is to figure out a name. I was like, well, this is my Oma's
That's
only
awesome.
beer she ever liked. And Oma also means grandmother in Dutch. So it was a really easy thing to just say, oh, this is Oma's Hefeweizen.
That's great.
And I have a photo of her holding a can.
Oh, that's great.
of beer.
That's great.
And the approach is always, what do we want to make? We have an intention to do this, and then you work backwards from that, because all of the elements of creating the finished product starts with what do we intend to do here, and then we work backwards from there to determine our approach for executing quality, making sure the beer is as excellent as possible, all of the things that make Monnik.
Yeah.
To me, it always starts with the intent, and then we can work backwards from there. But the inspiration is always a classic style. So
That's cool too, because that does remind me of like the homebrewer philosophy. You kind of start out just you learn how to make beer, but then you kind of start to try to reverse engineer things in your mind as you drink them, and then the next step is you kind of have this invisible goal of a beer that you want to make, and then you just iterate and iterate and iterate until you get there. Does that resonate with you when you started your homebrew journey? How did you start the homebrew journey?
So it's not a glamorous story.
None of them are.
I at the time that I was really getting into beer, I didn't really drink before I was 21. It just wasn't something that I wasn't in a group of friends that did it, and it just wasn't something that I was exposed to. Then I turned 21 and I started kind of seeing what was out there. Excuse me.
What was out there at that point?
So this is the point of the conversation. When I started drinking beer, craft beer was limited. I remember the first beer that someone bought me on my 21st birthday was a Newcastle.
Oh, sure.
And I remember drinking Newcastle and being like,
Nuki Brown.
this isn't beer. This is something completely different. I've never had this
And
before.
that's when Newcastle was like good.
Yeah.
Well, and this was on draft, so it wasn't the skunked clear glass bottles. And I went from that and I was like, I like dark beers. And so then I remember drinking a Beta
Mhm.
Turbo Dog.
Oh yeah, we used to drink the heck out of that.
Zingu, which was like a Brazilian Schwartz beer.
So the XI.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that was kind of the beginning of my journey into understanding beer and drinking beer as somebody who was doing it purposefully. I wasn't drinking to get drunk or to party. I was
Yeah.
like, I want good beer.
You,
What's good beer?
you drink for taste or you drink for waste?
There you go.
Nice.
Getting drunk and partying is just an after effect.
I-
Can't be
I-
helped.
Yeah, you're gonna party.
At some point, I went to this is like in that same era. I went to Bonnaroo, and I remember walking back from a show to my tent at the end of the night, and there was like a shakes down street, like gravel, road where people posted up and were selling sandwiches and whatever. And there was a guy selling beer, and he had Sierra Nevada in a bottle, and he had Guinness Nitro in a bottle.
Ooh, nice.
And I bought one of each. And I drank the Sierra Nevada first, and I had never had a beer that was hop forward, and I thought something was wrong with it. I didn't know. I just was like, this one's bad. And then I popped the Guinness, and I drank it as I was walking back my tent. I was like, this is really good. And then I got to the bottom, and I was like clinking around. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
oh my God.
The widget.
That hippie put something in my beer.
There's
And
a
then-
shard of glass
and then
in
I
there.
laid in my tent,
I'm
like
so high.
waiting for the trip to start.
The,
no,
the
much-
nitrogen bubbles to your brain.
Yeah, much like most homebrewers, once you get into it, once you get into beer, you think, well, I want to try this. Like this, I could do this. And I worked at the Hyatt at the time. We had a derby weekend where I worked 12 hours every day. It was right when, I think it was right after the guy tried to set his shoes on fire or something. And so the airport wouldn't allow you to take liquids on. And Woodford Reserve hosted a party at the hotel where they gave everyone a pint of Woodford. So on Sunday, when everyone was checking out, they're like, I can't take this on the plane. You want this?
Wow.
And so me and a friend had accumulated all of these bottles of Woodford, went and got proper drunk after like working 60 hours in 4 days. And I woke up the next morning and like, a mouthful of gravel and head full of cotton, and sat down and opened the computer and turned it on and checked the email. It's like, congratulations, you won. It's like, what? And I'd bid on a homebrew kit on eBay.
Oh, nice.
And that was the beginning. Like
That's
was
a true like early 2000ers like
Yeah.
homebrew
So you got
starting
so you got
experience.
drunk off Woodford.
Yeah,
Yep.
free Woodford.
Decided to go on eBay and search for your passion.
Yep.
I love it.
And from that point on, like every free opportunity that I had, I was either conceptualizing a recipe or trying to figure out, okay, what's the next piece of equipment that I need. Because I started like most people with extract, and I was doing infusions in the kettle that weren't, I wasn't doing anything near all grain. And then was lucky enough to get in with some people that had bigger, better equipment. And then it became like collab brew days where let's get together and drink PBR for 12 hours and
Yeah.
and make 20 gallons of whatever.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. And that, that was 15 years of doing that before I ever clocked in as a professional in any way, shape, or form.
Hell
So
yeah.
See, I love homebrew days. We just had our buddy Nathan in a few weeks ago on a different episode, and we were talking about the great homebrewing days that we have usually on Sundays in his garage. I show up, I sit down and watch him work. It's great.
Just drink all the fancy beer that he has like laying around the fridge.
Yeah, it turns into a bottle share, and he does all the work, and it's great.
you may be able to speak to this. The thing that I learned pretty quickly was a lot of people like to brew, but when it comes to cleanup
Oh yes.
or it comes to like getting together to bottle,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's when you realize like, okay, I don't want to do this with.
And those are the same people that say we should throw like 8 pounds of peach puree into the mashed. Like, they're like, what? It's like, okay,
You gonna clean that up?
Yeah,
These are also the same people that cook 4-course meals
Yeah.
and don't want to do the dishes.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
And
I'll-
you weed those people out.
Give them like the infected batches from a few screw ups ago, and they don't come back.
this is great. Have this. I will say that, like, flash forward like 17 years now, and at Monnik, you are hosting like open sessions for people to come and brew with you.
We just had one last weekend.
Yep.
The Brew with Buddy concept was something that Ian, one of the other owners, had said, like, what if we did a day where we did a brew and we just invited people to come?
And it's like that vibe like you were just talking about. It's like you're just kind of hanging out in the garage and
chill.
like, chilling.
And the first one that we did, like, I didn't know what to expect. I knew that there was interest in learning how to brew or learning the mechanics of it more than anything else. I didn't expect anyone to walk away from the experience and be like, I'm going to go home, become a home brewer. So we, like, I wrote a curriculum for the brew day. I don't remember how many pages it was, but it was a lot. Wow. I sent it to our
Volume 1.
Our marketing and events person. She condensed it down into like a 3-page user-friendly format.
Goddamn editors.
It was something like 10 to 11 pages worth of stuff.
Can I get that?
Yeah, I want the
No, for sure.
that manuscript.
Raw format. Yeah.
And then at that point, we just, posted that we were doing it, and tickets started selling. And I was like, well, we've already sold more tickets than I expected. The first group of people that came was like just a patchwork of human beings. Like, there was I was expecting dudes in their, early 20s to mid 40s. And it was just a full array of every human being. Like, we had people that were retired and just curious about what beer was and how it was made. There were a couple of chemistry students at U of L that just wanted to see what chemistry was involved. And guys brought their girlfriends, and after it was all over, the girlfriends came up to our marketing and events person and was like, this was really good.
Awesome.
I wasn't expecting it to be fun. So yeah, the momentum of it, translated into another one. That one was almost the same kind of mix of people. And then this last one that we did was only dudes, only guys that were interested in brewing.
That's because you labeled it Imperial Style.
Yeah. We did pick a style for this one. We didn't announce the styles previously, but it was funny because the morning of mashing in, there's nothing exciting or fun about that. And it's really hard to talk over the auger and all the machinery. So I learned that after the first one, because they watched me mash in for 50 minutes. This one, we were just finishing mashing in. We were on the last bag. And I kind of structured it specifically to where they would be showing up as that last bag was going in. Yeah. So I could talk about, well, this is what we're doing. And one of our kitchen staff came back and she's like, buddy, there are a bunch of middle-aged white dudes waiting for you up front. And I went up front. Well, I said, like, you should send them back. And they came around the back. And I was looking, I was like, these dudes are my age. And then I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I've had that experience too.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the way that you've made a programmatic approach to this and made it approachable. And I went to I believe it was the first one.
You were there for the first one, yeah.
Yeah. And just like you said, the array of people that were just curious, and you can go to a local homebrewer, like, Nate's house, and see that. But when you kind of see it all in full scale production, you're just like, you're not only like intimidated by it, and you're like, this is where the magic happens.
Part of what I wanted to do
break
was
it down
to give people the confidence to try it, because the reality is you're going to make bad beer in the beginning, because it's not an easy thing. We've been trying to perfect this as a species for unnumbered years, dating back past historical context. And it can be very unnerving and uncomfortable to think about venturing into it. But I was lucky enough, the first book I bought was Papazian. And
hell yeah.
At the end of every chapter, after he tells you all the
things.
all
these Palmerites around here trying to be all persnickety with stuff. We have our Charlie Papazian poster back there. Relax, don't worry, have a homebrew.
Yeah, that's at the end of a chapter talking about all the ways you can mess up a beer. He's like, but yeah, don't worry, have a homebrew. And I actually met him at Great American Beer Festival in 2008. I went as a bachelor party.
Nice.
Some buddies of mine, including the guy that I bought that beer kit with, we're like, man, we should for your bachelor party, we should go to the Great American Beer Festival. And this was like in June. I was like, let's buy tickets. I bought a ticket. No one else bought a ticket, so I went by myself.
Oh, oh no!
And I was walking around. The first day was there. You go.
God.
The first day was an absolute shit show. I was trying to alphabetically hit every brewery.
No, it's a
And
nightmare.
How quickly did you realize that was not?
I was on F,
Wow.
and I was like hammered drunk.
So you got
and
the Freigeist or something?
I don't even know. I wasn't having a good time at that point. I called everyone in my phone. I had a flip phone, and I just like went next person call, next person call. And I remember talking to my Oma
Oh,
and being like, Oma, they have so many beers here. It's so amazing. I love you.
That's great.
And then hanging up the phone. But like that was what I wanted to do, and that's was my bachelor party. The next day, I came in with a much better approach. I got a foot-long meatball sub from Subway and ate it right before we went in. And I was kind of like enjoying the essence. I generally don't like beer festivals, and I don't want to shit on beer festivals in any way, shape, or form. But generally, they're not fun because it's a crowd of people banging into each other.
It's fussy.
Yeah.
By the end of the festival, it's a mess. The one exception that I will say recently is Craft Bash. If you want to go to a really chill and enjoyable beer festival, Craft Bash is the one. But this was like that kind of atmosphere. Everybody was just having fun and enjoying their time. And I come upon Charlie Bazian. It's like, oh, that's Charlie Bazian, because I recognize him.
He's very
Yeah,
you pick him out in a crowd.
he's this tall.
Yeah.
So I walk up and I'm like, hey, I homebrew because of you, and I just love you and thank you for all you do. He's like, oh, thank you.
You're like, can you talk to my grandma?
I happen to have my copy of the second edition
nice,
of Complete Joy of Homebrewing, and he signed it for me.
Hell
and
yeah,
that's
what he
awesome.
wrote in there was, "Don't worry, have a homebrew."
Love that.
You took your copy of his book to GAB.
It was
Hell yeah,
well.
dude.
So I wanted to be.
What if you start to worry?
The line gets really long, and I didn't want to miss any
He's going
time.
to read.
So while I was sitting in line for 3 hours, I read the cover to cover every brew book that I had.
So, buddy, you're that guy.
that's
just
fine.
face it. No, I'm
No,
that guy
like
too.
happily that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. That's awesome.
You're sharing so much with us. And
I thought that was the point.
That's
Shit.
great. That was a great.
Did
So-
you go back to GABF afterwards?
I haven't been
in a
since.
personal- yeah.
It would be something that I would like to revisit eventually. Honestly,
Maybe from the other side of the table.
well, so it's weird to think about, but the one local that I remember running into there was Cumberland,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and
Wow.
I was a frequenter of Cumberland early on, and then shortly after Matt left, I kind of branched out to other things. And I remember walking by their booth and just like stopping to say hi, and they offered me a beer, and I was like, "No, I'm good."
Oh,
and get
not
this at home.
not as a dog, but like I've only got so many beers I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you've had the
consume today.
Cumberland Red
I
before,
know
it's-
all of your beers.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But no, it would be fun to go and be there as a brewer. We went to a craft beer conference last year, was in Denver,
CBC.
and it's just such an amazing experience to be in that city. For the, as far as I'm concerned, you're talking about like the hotbed of craft beer.
Yep.
When the laws changed, that was the place that it started, because Coors was cool and would sell malt and hops to
Totally.
the small guys around town. So
similar to that Cumberland story, when I went to Shelton Brothers in Denver a few years ago, that's how I reacted when I was asked to have a Monnik beer. So
yeah, I mean,
I was like, I would love to, but I'm also going to be there like in 2 days.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go stand in line for this like Fontaflora or, Cantillon or whatever.
the only beer that I stood in line for when I was at the Great American Beer Festival was Dogfish Head was doing like an ancient beers.
Oh yeah, those are such
Arc.
a fun series. Yeah.
And I remember it was the first night. So I had left, E or D to go and do that. And I had a book that I was keeping track of all the beers that I tried.
Of course you did.
And I went through the Dogfish Head line, stood there for a while. Sam was there, and I
Nice.
talked to him, and I was probably gushing. And in the next day when I got up, I opened up the book and I'm going through. I was like, okay, yeah, I remember that beer. That was a great beer there. And I got down to the Dogfish portion, and I wrote the Obama. I was like, what? And then I just had like a bunch of stars and hearts next to me. I was like, what? The Obama? Okay. So the next day I go back in, walk up, stand in line, get up there. I was like, could I get the Obama? And Sam was like, what? I was like, the Obama is what I wrote in my book. And he's like, oh, Teo Broma.
That's great.
That's
I thought
close.
because Obama did brew beer when he was in the White House.
Yeah.
He
Well,
made
and
that
it was
honey
like-
ale and whatever else they made. Yeah,
I that's what I associated with. I was like, that this word.
that's great.
is
That
the
makes
Obama.
sense to
The
me.
Obama.
I mean, the general topic of beer festivals, real fast. They're good. They have a place. I enjoy them. I enjoy being part of them and introducing people to new beers and new breweries. And I think that's an incredible journey. It's not necessarily one I'm looking for me personally at this point. That being said, there are great ones locally here in Louisville, of course. What I would love to see more of is more, specific style festivals.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
More sour festivals, more barrel aged festivals. But beyond that, one thing that I haven't been to that I'd really like to go to next is Great Taste of the Midwest.
Mm.
And that's coming up, I know, and I'm tempted.
So the vibe on that from everyone that I know that's been to it is like my first experience with Great American Beer Festival, or my experience with Craft Bash. The vibe is just different. It's not like a rush of people trying to drink as many beers as possible. It's very calculated. I want to go here. I want to taste this. I want to enjoy it. I'm not here to try to marathon through 100 servings of beer. I'm
Sure.
here to enjoy what I'm tasting. So that's one on my bucket list as well. I know people that have gone, and that's what they say about it, is that it's just really chill, and everyone's there to drink good beer. It's I think that should be the approach for anybody who wants to start a beer festival.
Yeah, totally.
How do we make this chill? How do we make this enjoyable for everybody?
Don't make it a body count.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take your time.
Yeah.
Try something.
Yeah.
try something.
Relax.
Try a few things.
Go to the silent
Have a
disco.
homebrew.
See what happens.
Don't
Yeah.
try all
Go
the
to the
things.
silent disco.
So, buddy, we do always ask someone that comes on to bring us a little something.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, you've been
see.
sharing all these great stories. Do you have
Yes.
anything else to share?
We'll
Do you
show and
guys-
tell segment.
Do you guys want meat or beer first, or both?
You brought meat.
I brought meat.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Wow.
I like meat.
So he texted me, bring one thing that is beer that you love and bring one thing that is not beer that you love. And I love meat. So
All right.
yeah, that's not beer.
Let's do it.
My Desert Island beer.
Oh,
nice.
You're gonna see that.
Number 10.
This was one of those homebrew excursions to try to make something like this.
Yeah.
because
Everybody tries to do that.
This is Rochefort 10.
Yeah, I read about this beer. I was like, that beer is everything that I want from beer. And then I was like, okay, started studying the style. And this before distribution was anything like what it is now. The only place you could find this type of stuff was across the river with Todd at
Yeah,
Keg Liquors.
that's right.
So it was an excursion to go over there and see what he had. The first time I had one was from him. I'm gonna pop this.
Yeah, please.
Let's do it.
You
I
guys
think
pour
you're the second person to bring Rochefort.
because it's really
Who
good.
else did?
Liz.
Liz, that's right.
yeah,
Liz did.
Lizville.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
Good
pull
company.
these. And I'm gonna cut some meat.
But I don't know if she brought the 10
I
or if
think it
the
was the
12
8?
or the 8.
I think she brought the 8.
So for people who haven't had
It's
the
the 10 the
Trappist
double?
sales before, these
10's
are
the double,
like,
right?
This is the
Quad.
Oh.
Yeah. Authentic Trappist beer. The Belgians are known for making high ABV beers that have, and low ABV beers, but that just have uniquely distinct kind of malt characters, but then most importantly than anything, just that yeast character. You really can't get those flavors that come from those like hundreds of years old Belgian yeast.
All right,
strains.
sorry, I'm not going to interrupt
Any
you, but
other
what, David, describe what Buddy's doing right now.
So, buddy just pulled out this meat. It's thick
And a giant cleaver.
and cleave. And right now he's just slicing it up.
Yeah, we're gonna eat some
On
meat
a
and we're
nice
gonna
little
drink
meat
delicious
board.
beer.
This is
Keep this thing on me.
This is the second time somebody's brought food on
Yeah,
the podcast,
yeah,
and
you're
I love the trend.
I'm
here
behind
for
it.
Yeah. I'm eating.
I have an inclination as to where this meat came from, but I'm gonna let Buddy tell the story.
Oh yeah. I made this meat.
We'll wait.
What?
You sir are dealing with the meat.
So I don't know how to present this other than
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
it's presented right now.
It's in.
Yeah!
Oh,
Yeah, the first appropriate use of the
Nailed
applause
it.
button of the podcast.
Nailed it.
saltines because we're not fancy.
Nope. That looks great, man.
So yeah,
Great.
this is
Served on wood, so you know it's good.
this is a venison summer sausage that I made from a deer that I processed.
Hell yeah.
Super simple. Deer meat, pork, make your farce. There's garlic, jalapeno, all the seasonings that you would expect in a summer sausage. And then shout out to my boy Nick with G-Town Heat.
Yeah,
That's some good stuff
the
right there.
G-Town Heat.
Check him out. He makes
Locally made hot sauce.
delicious locally made hot sauce. This is super
That's
super
incredibly
hot,
hot.
It's really hot.
Yeah.
but some
let's
of this
do it.
is in there. So
Okay.
Okay.
grab a slice.
Let's do it.
Did I get a pour? Oh man, I gotta drink it
Yeah,
out
we
of the
got you
bottle.
right there, man.
Thank you, sir.
This is
And
this
we
is
got
incredibly
some
exciting.
A little mustard, too.
Engelhofer stone ground mustard.
Yeah, I mean that's the German. I think I just messed things up.
I think you're fine.
All good.
Woo!
These buttons.
So yeah,
So I told John not to use the buttons, but now you're just using them.
you guys invited me. So mustard, meat, cracker.
Oh, yeah. it's
Please enjoy.
great, man. That's fantastic.
Nothing excessively hot, but also there's a tickle.
It's been a while since I've had this beer too, by the way, and that's
Mm-hmm.
so refreshing too.
I think this is to me. So my grandfather went to World War II. Was a POW in Germany for 2 years. Came home and then got a job at Gethsemane Farms.
Oh, wow. Really?
And so he worked there for 54 years before retiring.
Wow.
And so I have this connection to this Trappist concept of living outside of the beer. The beer is the fun part, but just like, those guys have a dedication to any number of things, whether it's their studies, their meditations on what it means to be alive and how to live.
Yeah. For them, brewing is like a form of prayer almost.
Exactly.
It's like
Absolutely.
a meditation.
Or
like
at Labora.
Mhm.
Praying
And
work.
Yeah.
we were lucky enough as kids that my dad would take us, and
Oh, wow.
we would go and we'd hang out, and we'd go and hang out with the monks. And I remember specifically there was a monk named Ambrose, and Ambrose would take us back to the back areas of the monastery, and he raised raccoons, and we would play with the raccoons, and then
That's amazing.
and then he would give us whole Hershey bars.
Wow. That might have been St. Francis, come back.
I super hate to interrupt you. This is fucking
It's
amazing.
really amazing.
And I was going to say, too, how well it goes with the beer, actually. Like, that's a fantastic combo.
So I think anything hot, whether it's the spice
Mhm.
from the mustard, spice from the meat, this beer is going to
Yeah.
work well with it.
Because that maltiness rounds out the heat, but then, like, that interesting yeast character really works with some kind of heaty, garlicky kind of stuff, too.
And malty, but not sweet.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like it's not
Yeah.
sugary. It's got a nuance. I think it's one of the best beers on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're not alone in that opinion. Wasn't that for at least a long time regarded as the best beer on the planet by people who rate beer on things?
was that before
Maybe that was the 12. I don't remember, but yeah.
before the haze craze hit?
Yeah, before everything.
I don't know, man. This looks pretty hazy to me.
Definitely a long time staple, and will continue to be so.
Of course.
Really good.
Yeah,
But it was to me a holy grail beer because I couldn't find it.
yeah.
And I read about it in homebrewing magazines. I'm like, this got a 96. And then they talked about all the things that you could taste in it. I was like, I want to taste that. And part of the reason why I got as deep into brewing as I did was because I didn't have access to these beers. And I think that was the kind of impetus for, when 78 and the laws changed, that was a portion of why you saw this surge in craft beer was
Yeah, I
because
completely
somebody
agree.
wanted to make a traditional English brown, and maybe they've had an English brown and they know what it's supposed to taste like, and they were trying to recreate that here. And I draw inspiration from this beer. I draw inspiration from the the Trappist concept and just the focus and drive of that concept. It also happens to align with our branding.
Yeah, Monnik.
Monnik means monk. I don't know. I think this is the perfect beer. I wouldn't do anything to change it.
Nope.
And the fact is, I've had this beer so many times over the course of so many years, and it always tastes the same.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about that. You know, you talked a little bit ago about just a long history of brewing and humanity and stuff. The Belgians and the Trappists in particular are some of the people who have like helped cultivate that the most. In Belgium, like if you go to these monastic breweries and stuff like that, one of the steps that we always think of in brewing is, and I'm sure you wrote like 2 or 3 pages on this in your manifesto for Brew with Buddy, but it's like pitching the yeast and just all that stuff. They don't really even think about that over there a lot of the times. The pitching of the yeast just means putting it in this room that the same beer has been brewed in for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The yeast live in the walls. They've outcompeted any other wild microbes or wild yeast strains that might get in there. Like the building is the way that you pitch. It's incredibly cool to think about.
And to bring it to the like modern age, your point being like, this is always consistent. It's always good. You can talk about haze, sour, whatever. You can always pick this up off the shelf and you know exactly where you're getting.
Yeah. They always list a drink by date, 2026. So
We're good.
yeah, which the confidence in saying
The audacity.
I don't like it if beer's out in the market longer than 3 months.
Yeah.
These guys are like, no, you can hang on to that.
Well, pray more and like
Pray, drink, and eat.
So another philosophical point. Do you think, because you and I are of the same, generational and kind of got into brewing around the same time, and my story is very similar to yours, and like try these European beers, can't get them. Do you think the kids are spoiled these days? Do you think that it's too easy to get so much stuff? Like, how does it impact the psyche of the next generation of home brewers and brewers in general?
I mean, I would compare it to like growing up with the internet or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh, that's good.
we didn't have the internet. We didn't have a computer until I was 13 or 14, and our internet was dial-up. So it wasn't really the internet.
I remember I had Microsoft Encarta on like 8 CD ROMs, and that was how I was.
So
like,
we would stockpile the AOL free 100 hours discs, and every time you burn through one, you throw the next one in. But no, the good thing is that there's more exposure for the new beer drinker. There are styles that will intrigue and draw in any number of demographic. Monnik specifically, we're approaching it, trying to do classic styles and execute them really well. But you've got pastry sours and barrel aged stouts, and you've got hazy IPAs and all these other categories that are going to bring in a completely different demographic than what we bring in. A completely demographic from what I grew up, drinking beer. Those things didn't exist. And I guarantee you, a 21-year-old me would drink a pastry something and be like, oh man, this is great.
It tastes like pie.
Yeah.
The joke is it's beer for people that don't like beer, but the reality is the culture, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
No, that's the people that grow up and say Bud Light is beer. And, it's one and the same, but it's craft, and people want to label it as kitsch sometimes. But it's like, this is how you get people in the door. And when they go to a place like mine, they're like, oh, this place sucks. They don't have any hazy IPAs, no Kel Sour. And it's like, let me explain to you. If you like beer, then you're going to like this, and you're going to, venture out. And that's where the appreciation comes from.
For sure. And part of that is us making that connection. As the brewery, if someone's like, do you have any sours? No, but we've got assortment of saisons.
Yeah.
Like if you like more acidic beers, we can accommodate you. And we're probably going to have you try something that you didn't expect. Maybe it's good to you, maybe it's not. But like the reality is your beer drinker, the modern beer drinker, the young beer drinker, they're going to be going looking for those types of styles. And there are lots of people that do them really well. Those same people can turn around and make a delicious Kolsch.
Yeah.
or a absolute banger American lager. Like it doesn't have to be isolated to one specific thing. For our particular branding, that's kind of where we land, is traditional styles approached with that we want to bring the weird to it. So Saison with ginger and Sriracha Ace.
That's such a good beer. Yeah, Girls Ginger Saison is a banger.
Just tapped today. So
nice, hell yeah. Yeah, everybody has to try that one. It's amazing.
But like I said, we want to approach the person that doesn't necessarily know that style and make it in a way that they will appreciate it or be able to be engaged with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with the access that the modern beer drinker has.
Because you have to innovate too, or else we just all stagnate.
Well, I could be like the get off my lawn guy, but like I'm not. I think it's great that there's so many different styles, because the moment you step foot in the brewery, you're there.
I'm not taking that meat tray back. We've been passing it back and forth. It's so good.
Great job on that.
I won't take it any
That's
further.
amazing, dude. Really, really well done. Super, super cool.
Do you want to talk about the hot sauce?
No, I would just love to try it again. It's been a while.
Are you gonna do it?
Put it on a cracker. That would be the easiest format.
Vehicle.
So Nick Wilson, who used to run our front of house here in Germantown, he does this as a hobby at home and started marketing it. And these are like peppers, onions, garlic. He ferments them. He pasteurizes the bottles. He does nothing else. So this
you
one
thought that your glasses were fogging up before you were about to be very hot.
It hasn't hit me yet.
So I will say, before I take this in, I've had it before in two different ways. I've had it within my chicken chili, which is amazing and very hot.
Buddy, that's all.
And Buddy is doing all of it. And David, it's your turn too, because you're.
I won't be able to speak. I've had
Sneaking
it.
up on
It's
me.
good.
so he doesn't say what it is, but I can tell by the taste. This is the scorpion pepper one.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just have ticks
many,
of how many fire, but it's amazing.
It really is good too, because there's some hot sauces that just get so.
It's not hot for the sake of hot.
It tastes like something.
It's actually really good. Light, vinegary, super flavorful. You get the garlic kind of coming out.
And the vinegar is the fermentation.
Oh, it's a fermented hot sauce?
Yeah.
I didn't know he did that.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course he does.
Oh.
The heat's coming up to me now, but as of yet, it's not unbearable. It's actually very pleasant.
Just a
give
pleasant
it,
heat.
Give it about 60 seconds.
Okay, fine.
Well, I think the last time I did this was on like maybe Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We met up with some friends. I was with Dylan and Megan.
Yeah.
Hanging out at the Monnik, and I decided to get some for the hell of it. And it's catching up.
Yeah.
John,
I
how you
showed up
feeling?
late.
I'm okay with hot stuff. To me, this is almost perfect. Like, it is hot, but I'm not like crying, and my glasses aren't fogging up anymore.
It's the endorphin thing. Like
Yeah.
you get enough of that hot that your brain's like, oh yeah, this is
That's hot.
something's happening.
Allergy season here in Kentucky. You can go spend money on like Benadryl and your neti pots. Go buy a bottle of the Nick's hot sauce.
I
and
get
you're
the
gonna be doing
same endorphin rush from drinking a really good beer.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to another episode of the Hot Ones.
better. Yeah.
I will
trademark.
say that Christmas Eve, I showed up after you all had already experienced this hot sauce. And you're like, hey, no, just put a little dab on it. And I'm like, oh, well, no problem. And I was like, what do I put on? You're like, spent grain bread. And I'm like, surely that won't be that much. And I'm like, I'm sweating. But
So
I think
it does make you sweat.
Oh yeah, I am sweating.
I domed one of those.
My eyes are.
What's the hottest
watering.
one now? The Reaper, the Ghost? Like, what's the current hottest pepper?
So the hottest pepper is the Pepper X.
Oh my god,
Smoking Ed Curry.
that's even a new one I've never even heard of.
He is like the pepper god, and he's the one that's made like Carolina Reaper and all these different iterations. Basically, what he does is over generation, like hundreds of generations of pepper plants, he crossbreeds the hottest ones until he comes up with something new.
Sadist.
Former addict
Really?
that
You got to get your fix somewhere.
chasing
man.
his high
Yeah, dude.
is this
Like
now,
that
which is
endorphin
great.
thing, like you were
yeah,
saying.
like
Yeah.
it takes him to a place where like he's poured his entire life into this, and it's what he's passionate about.
all of his
there's-
taste buds, too.
He can eat some stuff that like
I imagine.
yeah, like he is next level. But like the hottest hot pepper currently I've had, and the thing about the sauce that I had it in is they approached it by making a craft hot sauce.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
They didn't just make the hottest sauce on the planet. If you've ever had Da Bomb Beyond Insanity, that is a garbage hot sauce.
Yeah.
It's
nasty.
chemical burn.
Yeah.
It's horrible. This was hotter than that, but also tasted like something. It had
Yeah.
those fruit notes that you get from habanero. It had that, God, it's going to sound bad, but like that dead,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
like vibe. Like it's
Yeah.
got some death to it.
Well, even now with like the and maybe it's the fermentation that kind of makes that work, but the heat isn't just like chemically. It keeps that kind of like garlicky presence. It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Well
Slow
done.
burn.
Slow burn.
Thanks, Nick.
I'm still waiting for it to kick in.
Oh, look at David over here.
yeah.
I
You
do
don't
have to
even
blow
feel
my
anything yet.
nose. I get the sinuses.
I would say that one thing that would cool this off would be Martin House hot dog water seltzer.
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
it is. It was just announced. I think last week. Are you familiar with
Wait,
Martin
is this?
House?
Are we serious?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Martin House? Out of
This is
Texas?
over. We're done.
Buddy, you can't
He's
just
good.
press the buttons.
What's really funny is Buddy probably has a better understanding of the buttons than I do right now.
B is the funk. B brings the funk. C is clapping. A is not the rim shot. D is the rim shot.
Well, good work. Have y'all ever done the one chip challenge? Just real fast.
I have.
Yeah.
Worst night of my
It
life.
was awful. It went out as
So the
even.
thing about the capsaicin is you have a natural enzyme in your saliva that will break it down. But if you don't chew long enough, you just fully torch your system.
And do you know the only other part of your body that allegedly has taste buds, according to the internet?
Your sphincter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Or it has
guess.
like capsaicin.
That was a guess.
reservoirs.
Yeah.
The ring of fire.
Because of course.
So I ate it and I was like, oh, because it's all just dried pepper.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm going to get this out of my mouth as quickly as possible.
I
Because I have a ding, ding.
yeah.
So I just, I noshed it, swallowed it. And then I woke up at like 2 a.m. Like I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. It just
Like-
tears you up, man.
I thought it was appendicitis.
Yeah. No, it was awful. I didn't have any like dairy or anything in the house to really like help. So I did have milk stouts.
Okay.
So that did help
I have
like
heard beer is actually
alleviate
pretty
a
good
little
for
bit.
that. Yeah.
But I think that night I had some friends over and that was just part of the challenge, I guess. I just remember watching Dunkirk for the first time
Oh yeah.
and just having a miserable experience because I was just like, I feel awful.
Like these
I'm
people in
sweating
Dunkirk
still.
didn't go through shit. I don't know what I'm experiencing right now.
So there's this thing that we learned at our, we did a sensory panel with the guys from BDAS a couple months back at Ethereal in Lexington. And one of the things that we did the day of the first day was there was a neuroscientist from UK that came in and talked about your brain and how you perceive things and all the elements that go into locking in an experience. And there's the PAPE circuit in your brain, which frontal lobe is like, I'm enjoying this. This is fun. And then like, forget it. The PAPE circuit is triggered through trauma.
Okay.
So Dunkirk will probably always be locked into your brain because you were going through absolute hell while watching it.
So next time you watch Dunkirk, you're probably going to get diarrhea, is what you're telling me.
They-
For the rest of your life.
They
Congratulations.
reference the nature of like being in med school or being like a resident. David,
Amateur
I
hour.
can't take him anywhere.
Amateur hour.
But he said that like part of their training for memorizing all the stuff that you have to memorize was they would make it a traumatic experience.
Oh, dude. Wow.
So that
okay.
it would lock into
Sure.
their PAPE circuit and then it becomes
That
part
is
of
incredibly fucked up. Do not tell like the kids these days that like take Adderall and all that crap about that. They'll
Well,
be like,
it's it reminded me of the terrific movie from the 90s, Street Fighter, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme,
perfection.
obviously a top 10.
Perfection.
where they have they're creating Blanca, and the way that they try to make him a bad guy is they just play like heinous shit on a screen for him for an extended period of
Yeah.
time. But he turns out being a real sweet character.
Totally. Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna pop another.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
yeah.
Whatever you
Yeah.
got, let's do it.
So he said, "Bring, what was it?
One thing you love that is
That's beer.
and
Okay.
One thing that you love that is not beer. And
Bottle conditioned beer is a broad category. I
Yeah.
brought 3 different bottle conditioned things.
Oh,
so.
hell
You,
yeah.
oh, we're
Let's
dead.
Should I get
So-
more tasting cups? I have a bunch in my car.
Sure.
Get some meat.
Why not?
Make small
Um,
talk.
While John's getting tasting cups and while Buddy's preparing the next delicacy for us, Yeah, so we joked a second ago about Martin House Brewing out of Fort Worth, Texas, and they've been up to shenanigans over the years. It's some weird stuff. They've made like hot Cheeto beer, which I've also made during COVID. It was through a beer press. It wasn't. Okay, yeah.
You randalize it.
Yeah. Well, not even that, but yeah. I literally just used a coffee press and just took like whatever.
Let's do all three. Let them rip.
All three?
Yeah.
We already did one. We're doing number 2, right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Slow your roll down.
So Martin House Brewing out of Fort Worth is launching a new flavor at Glizzy Fest, an event honoring the American favorite hot dog. If you're wondering what a glizzy is, it's slang for hot dog. But yeah, they are making a hot dog water flavored seltzer. 5.2%.
With pediococcus, and they're like, we cannot dump this or our business is going bankrupt.
It's called the Awesome Sauce. Bun length hot dog water seltzer. 5.2%. They've made stuff like Best Made Sour Pickle Beer, which is probably one of their most famous ones. Murph Juice, which is a barbecue sauce beer. Buffalo Wangs, a buffalo wing sauce sour beer.
That was a good pop.
And an elf themed beer too, with spaghetti, syrup and M&Ms. So it's
kids these days. I'm telling you, man.
It's kids these days. Yeah. So I don't know.
Speaking of hot dog flavored stuff,
It's going to be a good segue.
Blue Moon tastes like hot dog water to me.
I could kind of get that with the coriander.
They do so much coriander.
Yeah.
Coriander is one of the main ingredients in processed hot dogs. I didn't know that when I made this determination that I can't stand Blue Moon because the coriander is so heavy that it tastes like hot dog water to me. Because at Vacation Bible School as a child, the most efficient way to heat up 80 hot dogs was to throw them in a crock pot, turn it on,
yeah, man.
then the resulting gelatinous goo that was in the crock pot, I drank it as a kid.
If you figured out how to ferment it into seltzer, you could have been a millionaire.
Oh, yeah. But that is exactly what Blue Moon tastes like to me.
So I'm just going to say Spencer, Guy, who we had on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and David from Blue Stallion, Spencer from Akasha at the time, they made a hot dog water beer at Blue Stallion one year for licensing craft beer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it was apparently, according to Brandon Flown, it was not that bad.
Was it salty, like trying to do like the Goza thing, but with a lot of coriander, or was there actual hot dog water?
I think it was hot dog water and like ale yeast.
I'll defend this for 1 second. I have made before beers that were never intended to drink. The original way was when my dad, when I was a kid, my dad would make wine. One time we made a garlic wine. You're not really supposed to drink it, but for marinating chicken or for like cooking with, you can't beat it. I've made beers before just to make beer can chicken with. Like just throw a bunch of mustard seed, garlic, onions in there. It tastes terrible, but damn, does it make a good like beer can chicken or beer brats or
so,
like
buddy,
whatever.
what are we drinking?
Yeah.
So this is Underfoot and Overhead.
Oh, that smells amazing.
So this is a collab that we did with Amelia and Sue at Shippingport.
Nice.
Friends
of the show.
And I mean, two of the best brewers in the state.
Yep.
We had conceptualized doing a brew where Amelia was like, I want to use flour. What flour is it? Jeez, Lou. I'm blanking. There's too many beers in my system. And the hot sauce is still, you still feel it?
Mine's subsided. But you took way more than us.
Yeah.
True. So magnolia flour, when dried and added to a beverage, made into a tea or whatever, has a very young ginger character to it. So not like that spicy hot that you get from ginger, but it's all of those characters. Yeah. And then the aroma to me from that. So my neighbor has this huge magnolia tree kind of in our side yard. And it was the night before the snow that we had in March. And I knew that there was going to be snow. Her tree had blossomed. And I was like, all those blossoms are going to get fried, be done. I went over and knocked on the door. I was like, hey, I know we don't talk and you have no idea who I am. Is there any chance that you would be cool with me climbing around in a tree for a couple hours and pulling every magnolia blossom out of it? So I got up in this tree and I'm going around. I get a total of like 5 pounds. So a lot. Put them in the oven, dehydrated them at home. The house smelled like what the spirit smells like. We wanted to add another foraged element. So we went to Jefferson Memorial Forest, walked the trails. We had that weird cold snap where just like nothing was budding. There were no mushrooms. There just wasn't, like, the flora and the fauna were non-existent at that time. And I just read Scratch's book, and they used wild grapevine. And the elements that you get from the wild grapevine are obvious, a woody character, but also this really nice Venice like depth, almost like a Cabernet Sauvignon kind of thing. And so I was like, let's do that. So I roasted those as well. We turned it into a beer. We took the resulting beer, a small portion of it, put it in bottles with Brettanomyces.
Okay.
This beer is one of those, passion projects for us. These beers don't sell really well. Doesn't matter. I'm going to continue to try to make.
They podcast well. I can tell you right
there
now.
You go.
This is very good.
So the smell is going to be that
I
weird,
get the magnolia,
like
but with the
floral,
little woody, and then the Brett
ginger,
shows up
and
too.
then the wood,
Yeah.
and then the Brett is subtle. It's Brett Dre.
I never try to be able to pronounce those things.
Brett,
DREI.
I've always just heard Brett B, C,
Brett D.
Yeah.
D.
The drink.
Yeah.
You got the D, you got the C.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's very, very nice. And it's very smooth, honestly, for like the amount of kind of gruit foraged kind of stuff you guys put in there. It's really, really nice and mellow might not be the right word, but it's really balanced.
Just smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is not a light beer. This is north of 6%. I don't remember exactly. And the Brett has dried it out to a point to where I don't know. It drinks softer and crisper than it originally was. So taking something, putting it in a bottle, and treating it with a traditional approach.
Yeah.
Like that's why we call it the Classique series.
And Monnik was one of the first people around that I can recall in Louisville that kind of started doing those, like, and ATG's always had it, and Amelia did a lot of those wild sour things at Against the Grain back in the day. So shout outs there, but you guys really kind of took it to another level too, with just always having some stuff aging and getting funky in barrels or otherwise, or bottle conditioning. I remember one of the first beers, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a double like dry hopped Galaxy IPA thing that you guys barrel aged.
Milkweg.
Yeah, that was great. That was such a good beer, dude. Like I was like, okay, like this is great.
So that predates me. That was 2017. But
many years ago,
that
me and my friend
beer
Ricky
will
reviewed
exist
that.
again.
Oh, right, really?
We have a Brett tank now. So we've dedicated a fermenter to Brett. We've dedicated assemblages, tri-clamps, hoses.
So there's no chance.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly superstition, but yeah, there's no chance of cross contamination. We've turned it into a uni tank, so it's got a carb stone. The broken face pale ale that we have right now is the first of that series.
Heck yeah, that's awesome, man.
But we'll continue to do either partial Brett or full Brett fermentations in the future. And the Milkweg is like one of the first like thoughts when we were conceptualizing dedicating a space to that. Let's do that one again.
So that was a double IPA Galaxy hop.
100%
Yeah, it was incredible.
Galaxy.
With Brett.
Incredible.
Yep. Really unique profile, especially like you mentioned 5-6 years ago almost. I don't think people were ready for that. They're probably still not ready for that.
We don't care. We're
I'm
not
ready.
Yeah.
My body is ready.
It was good.
Yeah, it was great. It was exceptional. And that's one of the things too, just we talk often about like, where is Louisville in terms of like, a burgeoning beer city and whatnot. But we've kind of started to reach like the critical mass of breweries where it does kind of start to feel like we're a beer town, which we are. But it's super, super cool to start to see people experimenting and getting funky and like aging stuff, and bourbon barrel aging stuff is something we hope to see more of. But then the sour programs too are starting to evolve.
If you guys want to preview, part of sometime in the summer, before Scott passed, he had asked me to kind of take charge of the barrel program. And I took it really seriously and put a lot of thought and kind of planning into it. And then when he passed away, it was just like tragic. Everything's, completely fucked up right now. Let's just get through day to day. We've been able to kind of revisit that concept. I currently have our 4 and extra stout, which if you frequent the brewery, Imram, modeled out after the export stout, the Guinness concept, not the sweet export stout. And then we put that in Barton barrels. We've got Old Ale in bourbon barrels. I believe they're Heaven Hill.
Old ale can age so incredibly well. People sleep on old ale. They should.
We've got Never Be Gold barley wine, which
Amazing,
is
too.
Oh,
it's so good.
Got some barley wine. Yeah.
people just like when I talk to people about the fact that this beer is working currently in barrels, they're like, "Oh my god, it's my favorite beer that you guys have ever done." So I'm really excited because I never had that beer, and I don't know why. Just there was a point in time where I didn't interact with that beer. And then we've got.
So I will say real fast that I was actually given a question from a listener, which I forgot about until just this very second. But John King.
When are we going to make?
But John King specifically asked me to ask you about barley wine.
What does he want to know?
He just said, ask him about barley wine. John King.
That is the question.
Yeah.
So he's one of the people that I text with frequently enough because he is very familiar with the brand. He's been there since the beginning. He's been there since before the beginning because he would bug Scott about like, are you making enough beer? Germantown can really put away some beer. Do you have enough? And Scott eventually walked him into the cooler and like showed him all of the reserves of beer that he had kind of, built up leading up to the opening. He and I texted, I think last night, it might have been last night, about the fact that we're bringing back Never Be Gold. And, he was like, "Oh man, you got to do this, that, or the other." And I think he said, "Werther's Originals." And I texted back, "Heath Bar."
I dig it.
And then I was like, you know what? S'mores Pop Tart. But really, like the brilliant thing about having that beer down there in that cellar in 3 different barrels is we're going to be able to do 3 variant options. So one will be the just straight barrel aged barley wine. One we will probably do the Never Be Violet, which is the blueberry version.
That was an incredible beer. That
I
really
that whole event was like awesome.
Wasn't sure that was ever going to be reproduced.
Yeah, and then we have a third option. It's not going to be Werther's Originals.
Sorry, John King.
Sorry, John. But like fig would be great. He also suggested fig, which we had talked about.
Let's talk about this off air.
I will say I have a fig tree that produces.
Okay, Michael, you can keep those details to yourself. Dude.
Unlike John King.
Unlike John King, because he doesn't have a fig tree that produes.
Burn.
But I
fig
did.
Burn. Fig burn.
So I'm just saying, if you need, we're about to hit the first time they have 2 seasons.
We
July,
could call it
once in
Kentucky
September.
Proud if we got it from a.
Yeah, we could call it something else too.
G-Town Proud.
Yeah,
G-Town Proud.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you so much, buddy, for coming on. Want to pass it around the table, see if anybody's got anything to plug. Michael?
I wasn't really prepared for that one yet. Well, it was a quick transition to the outro.
He's been like nudging me. You're talking too much, man.
Okay, but I was really excited about this. We've been talking about all day today, so I'll plug one of your own beers, and I'm just gonna butcher the name, but I believe Inception is in the name of the beer.
Yeah.
So sold out.
It's already sold
really?
out.
Good job.
Didn't it
That's
just
fantastic.
go like yesterday?
Amazing.
So it was announced on Monday.
Dang.
So
it's Wednesday right now. So
that
That's
beer,
incredible, dude.
it's a sixtel.
yeah, we have been doing just for the last like 2 weeks random like sixtels of stuff because I feel like it's important to keep a dark option on. We are not producing HDM during the summer months because it just doesn't work within our
His dark materials.
Yes, sorry, doesn't work
Which
within
is an
our
amazing beer too.
It is, but it doesn't sell during the summer months. So we're trying to make sure that we're one highlighting what we do, 2 making sure that a tap handle is not going to sit with a beer that's going to be on too long. So we did Odenotze, which is our Russian Imperial that we held on to for a year. We did our Baltic Porter, which we also held on to for a year. And then we did the La Raja with the coffee that was aged in the barrel that the beer came out of, and it's gone.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
what I want to know about. So don't worry about that beer. Instead, I'll plug. Instead, it's gonna be this episode's gonna be released around the 4th of July. So instead, I'll plug the mile wide yearly release of Quiet Science Boomsicle. It is a American sour ale with sweet cherry, raspberry, key lime.
Basically the same thing as those barrel aged things.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're looking for a 4th of July release on Friday, little tease, we made a rice lager, international rice lager with Amelia at Shippingport that we're going to tap probably Friday going into the weekend. So super crisp, delicious rice lager. Not to step on anybody's toes, but it's called Dorai Boy.
Dorai Boy.
Because it's Doraiboi.
Love it.
Because in Japanese, when you translate dry boy, it's Dorai Boy. Originally, I was going to call it Crispy Boy, but Crispy Boy translates to like 3 different words that aren't there, there's no catchiness to them. So yeah, look forward to drinking this beer,
The Boomsicle. Yeah.
the Boomsicle, and maybe a international rice lager this weekend.
That sounds great. And I'm also, as you're saying that, I'm okay. Here we go. Shout out Stillwater because I'm drinking the extra dry rice saison.
Yeah, they
too.
just had that at the little Germantown Craft House. I was like, I haven't seen that for a while.
It was always one of my favorite beers to drink a few years ago, and I've started seeing it pop up a little bit more now. So shout out to Stillwater.
Yeah,
Sure.
Awesome branding there. Like that's
Is
a
sake
beer
the
that
new
you
mead?
see.
Sake is the new mead, guys.
Mead is always the
Mead
new
is life. Sake is the new mead.
So what's mead now?
Mead is
mead
corn liquor.
is mead the old sake?
Yeah.
Mead is the hazy.
Yeah. Mead is the mission quest for the Dungeons and Dragons convention.
I also
which is the best
brought
thing.
Basque-Style cider. So
David, is the show over?
So
Do you want to
after
try cider?
No, I like cider.
You want to try cider, David, or is the show over?
I think I fucking.
Let's try the cider time.
We're drinking cider.
so do you like
Aren't
cider?
you guys glad we
that's
figured out what these
that's the
buttons do?
question.
Is it
Yeah,
dry?
yeah, yeah.
Sweet?
So
I like the Spanish cider is the Basque cider, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So Basque, Normandy, same concept. You're cool with us running long, right?
I love it long.
Yikes.
I don't get it.
He's going to make so many edits. It's just going to be.
Oh, wait, no. I don't edit a thing.
But then
it's all saying.
I'm going to leave. I edit his edits. So.
Yeah.
I edit the edits.
So as somebody who likes that style of cider, as a person who is interested in be careful because that one's got a lot of sediment in it. As a person that
What does
likes,
that mean?
It means put it down. Don't shake it
just be
around.
careful.
It means you should let me open it.
You're mangling it.
I have gentle hands.
You're
No,
you're mashing
You're
it.
a heart pourer.
So
Heartthrob and the heart pourer.
Wow.
when it came time for us to conceptualize making cider, Scott came to me. I'd given him some of my homebrewed ciders during the pandemic before I started working there, and he was like, "Hey, I know you make cider at home. Do you have any interest in making a cider for? Yeah, you got to use this thing. Our corks suck.
You don't think I can twist it?
No, it's gonna break on you. It's
gonna-
just gonna be a
Also,
slurry.
he just said it's got a lot
It's just
of
gonna be a
sediment.
slurry.
Can you trust me? for a
No, I
minute?
don't trust you.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway,
Stop.
just use this. There's
We're debating on whether
he's got
he's got it. He's got it.
I trust myself.
It's gonna pop. Like this is
Put it up to the microphone.
No,
Put it up to the
it's
microphone.
going.
Put it
It's
up to the
going.
microphone.
It's already going.
It's not going.
You guys keep talking. It's
So-
already go.
Scott said, I know you made cider at home. Would you be interested in figuring out how to make a cider here? Big difference between homemade cider and
Indeed.
commercial made cider. But I wasn't going to let him know that I was discouraged. I was like, yeah, no.
Woo!
There she goes.
There it goes.
I like that there was a pot right above it too. I didn't anticipate the symbol action. That was not a push of the button on the 4-track recorder, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
think we cleared 30 feet
Can
on that
we
one.
sample that and make it one of the buttons?
yeah, I think so. I think we can do that actually.
From now on, you're going to just put,
We're gonna call it the Buddy Cider button.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry I tried to end the show
it's fine.
early.
No, we're good.
I tried to end the show early at one time, so now we've both done it.
Scott's exact words were, I don't give a fuck about cider. Do you want to make this cider? So I did. And that's like, if you know
That's good.
Scott or
That's
knew
good.
Scott, that's what I love about Scott is he was as direct as possible. You never had to worry about where you stood with the guy. He let you know.
Unless you disagreed about Lord of the Rings topics.
Unless
Wow.
I was unsure of what he was saying most of the time.
Oh, did you disagree with him on Lord of the Ring topics?
I have disagreed with him on Lord of the Ring topics before.
So when we were conceptualizing an approach to making a house cider, we had to make sure that it was a cider that was approachable. Like everybody could enjoy it. So it's not going to be too tart. It's not going to be too funky. So in trying to chase down that tradition, we decided to, back in the old cider houses in England, if the cider was too tart for your liking, you would ask the bartender to back sweeten it with whatever. What they used was black currant juice. So our cider was a cider that was back sweetened.
That's
with
awesome.
Black currant.
Yeah.
So it's still within the tradition, but developing an appeal that it wasn't super tart.
Yeah.
It was balanced. This is the complete opposite of that. This is funky. This has some wild yeast from bottle dregs
Really?
that I cultured
Okay.
up.
Yeah, it smells.
I couldn't guess, by the way, that cork shot out of there.
Well, I mean, I know what cider smells like. I love dry cider. This is more along that lines of Graf to me.
So this is supposed to be funky. This is as dry as it gets. There is no back sweetening here. The brilliant thing about fructose and sucrose is yeast can figure it out.
Yeah.
There are no polysaccharides in play, so it will dry out to nothing.
And it gives you that level, like for those of you who aren't tasting it, which is everybody but us right now, it gives you that level of like, it gets that champagne level of effervescence where it just bubbles.
Heavy carb.
Yeah. It's
So I
nice.
shot for 5,
Mhm.
which doesn't mean anything
Volumes,
to
just-
anybody, but
Yeah,
yes, 5,
bubbly.
which is why it's in these giant,
Yep.
thick glass bottles, because otherwise it would explode.
Yeah.
It's
Bottle bombs are a thing.
Yes. Every homebrewer has
Oh, yeah.
those stories too.
But no,
Some
the goal
Brewer
was to make
breweries, too.
something that I think is exemplary of a classic cider by approaching it in this manner. This is we made 5 cases of this.
Yeah.
The rest of this got back sweetened. We added cherry to it. So our next cider release is the first one was palm and cassis, which means palm, apple, and cassis is currant. The next one is palm and cerise, which is just cherry. So black cherry.
Hell yeah.
It's delicious. This one that we just tapped today as well is cherry. The cherry comes through on the back end. It's not like cherry up front, so you taste all the apple character. It's 5.5% instead of the 6.9% of the last one, because I want people to be able to drink cider in the summer.
Totally.
Nobody wants to drink a near 7%
And that's what those Spanish ciders
cider.
were all about. Just dry it out, not too high ABV. It's not sweet. It's very dry, and then
Yeah.
that little bit of farmhouse character is
I
just.
keep burping and I'm self-conscious because I can hear the.
Oh, don't be. It's
I
fine.
haven't had a single one.
But no, this is as dry as it gets. This is the highest carb that I've tested in
Yeah.
these bottles.
This is champagne-y. I mean,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
dry.
That's what it tastes like, is
Yeah.
champagne.
And it's dry enough to be like a brute, but then it's just got that funkiness. Was it like Brett or?
So
it's gotta
Brett
be-
C in this one.
Okay, yeah.
Brett C. Classeny,
Mhm.
which is the British Brett strain that was isolated. So you're going to get the fruitiness. You're not going to get as much of the horse blanket barnyard
Yeah.
stuff. This is, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be
Yeah.
complementary to the apple. You get all the malic acid. Like, we're not trying to hide that. We want you
No,
to.
that's there in apple
feel
cider.
it.
You want that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, to me, this is not beer. I'm sorry. I broke
It's
a
not.
rule.
It's okay.
But it is something that, like, we're passionate about this
Yep.
series of taking a beer that is traditionally bottle conditioned and just doing it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's gonna.
And that's something too. That's something so special. You know, you could take that to like Thanksgiving and have it be a centerpiece, or you could take
Putting
it
something
to,
down on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
The
like
meat
you said,
that you
it's
made at
something
home.
Yeah.
so special that you're not trying to like sell out of. But when someone comes around and they say, "Hey, is there
Anything
any
special?
local option for like a cider, and especially for like gluten-free people too?"
Sure.
And you say, "Oh, they have this," and not only is it like a gluten-free option, but they crafted this specifically. It's very unique. Probably small batch, one-off. You know.
Yeah, no, I will continue to, anytime I turn a batch of cider, I will separate a portion to do this with it.
Yeah.
Because this is interesting to me. This is fun. I know it's super niche.
It's delicious.
That's another thing I used to always do back in the days, like when in homebrewing too. It's just so easy to get a gallon of cider and then just experiment to the end of the year. You can usually ferment it in the jug it came in, and like you can just
Yeah.
try shit. This to me is like, it reminds me of stuff that I used to make back in the day. It's exceptionally good.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
That's how we got here in the first place. Somebody was the original person to be like, oh, what if we put this thing in a bottle and see what happens?
Kids these days.
Like, okay, we're just keeping that alive. Like,
Yeah.
what happens if we put it in a bottle? And so far, we're betting 1,000 with our bottle releases. The reality is there might be some weirdness that happens to the bottle, and it might not turn out. Like, we're not investing in a sure thing. We're investing in.
You're not putting 2026 under bottles.
not, unfortunately. I'm not that confident.
You just cut it with fruit puree and call it a
Big ups to these
popcorn
guys.
apple slushy. Yeah. All right. One thing I was going to shout out this week while we're going around.
Guess we're still on the
That's
shout
right.
out portion.
A few weeks
15 minutes ago.
Okay, a few months ago, I guess at this point, we covered a piece with the Keystone and Stone Brewing lawsuit.
You can't read content.
No, I'm just quick, just a kind of quick. Told you so. More of a quick "F you, Greg Koch." Stone sold.
Greg Cook.
Oh, is that how you pronounce it? Stone sold
Coach.
to who ended up buying them? The Sapporo, that's right. Yeah. So, the OG West Coast, we have an attitude, and we just do things our own way.
The arrogant bastards.
Yeah, the arrogant. That's a great way to put that. So, congratulations on your sale.
That guy's a jerk.
Thanks for suing everyone.
Sorry. No,
Yeah, I know.
Please.
He did a conference at that Great American Beer Festival that I was at, and he was just a dick the whole time.
Yeah.
So
It's in his name.
Yeah. That was my only shout out. And go to Monnik and drink some bottle conditioned cider. Yeah, this is fantastic.
is it my turn?
It is your turn.
I guess what I would like to convey. Am I endorsing something?
Hey, it could be an endorsement. It could be how you're.
What do you
know,
feel
whatever.
relatively?
It could be long form pros and amphibians.
It could be beer stuff. It could be non-beer stuff.
So you're saying I can say whatever I want?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Always.
The floor is yours, sir.
This is what I want the 6 people that are currently listening to this to take away.
Do you think we have 6?
Yes. My dad can only download it so many times.
Unintentional burn. This life is the only one that you have. If you're not living intentionally, you're not doing it right. Make sure that everything that you do, you're thinking about the end result and what you want, and then you're working backwards to try to build your life around a framework that can get you to that goal. My thing is beer. Your thing might be data analysis. It doesn't matter. The goal is to approach it with as much vigor and vim as you can possibly muster, and don't allow anyone to tell you that you're not doing the thing that you should be doing. If it makes you happy, if you take joy in the work that you are going into. Sorry, this is getting serious.
Go for it, dude. Please. Go for it.
I don't care. I want to make sure that in the current times, we too vaguely look at what our goals are. Make a goal and build backwards from that. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we live in a culture where it's very much just about like pursue. But if you don't know what ladder you're climbing up, then you can end up, somewhere down the road and be like, fuck.
I decided
what happened?
2 years ago, I left a job at Whole Foods as a manager.
So many good beer people came out of Whole Foods.
Yeah. I left a job at Whole Foods as a manager to take a chance on becoming a brewer. Scott and Brian were generous enough to give me an opportunity. Ian was integral in that decision. None of this happened on course with any kind of trajectory that I planned.
Yep.
If you look at our core values, one of them is like trust and providence. Providence, it can mean anything. To me, it means there's a path. If you want to go from here to there, you got to start there and work your way back.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it. Cheers. Find good beer, support the people that make it.
And share it with your friends. That's
Exactly.
what it's all about, really.
Well said, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers.
That was great, man.
What was that? I'll
Follow that.
follow that.
Bam!
You know what? I will piggyback.
We
off
should have
of-
just been playing the funk music during all of that. That would have just been the way to do it.
It would the overlay of just boom, 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 boom,
Follow your
boom.
dreams.
I will engage in your philosophical view.
Let's go.
And piggyback off of it is that everything that people are doing today has nothing to do with what you are doing, and the only reason they're doing it is because people before them, who may or may not have been smarter than them, have decided to do it this way.
It's true.
So find your own way. But I'm going to reserve my shout out for wine because wine is an incredible beverage that will give you a completely different sort of mind frame. when you drink it.
Okay.
Head buzz. That's what you're talking about.
Are you on wine right now?
Not right
On
now.
wine. Yes, dude, I'm on so much wine right now.
one wine before I am
Yeah.
lit.
But try it out every now and again. And thank you again for listening to Kentucky Commons Radio Hour.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And thanks to everybody for supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. The new stools, so comfy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So thanks to everybody supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for the stools. Really appreciate it.
Good night.
That's the end.
We're singing, have a in my old Kentucky home.